recorded along Florida's Big Bend region, southeast of the state capital of Tallahassee.
The impact can be felt up and down the coast. David Begnaud is just south of the landfall zone in Crystal River, Florida. David, good morning.
Nate, good morning. Look, the reality here as of right now is the wind, just as you talked to me, is starting to pick up. But the good news is it's been quieter than we expected. The water behind me, we were worried it was going to come up and actually force us out of the hotel room where we have been hunkering down. The fire alarm has been going off. The power has been flickering. But for the most part, the storm was far enough offshore to the west coast to where it seems as though things are better than expected. That's as of right now. In Taylor County, where this storm has made landfall, it's about an hour and a half from where I'm standing right now. It's hitting an area known as the Big Bend region, which is minimally populated with people, and it's mostly animals. A lot of salt marshes in that area where this storm is making landfall. Now, you don't want anybody to be in the path of it, and you hope that those people left. But at the end of the day, I just want to set the scene for you and give you the appropriate context so you understand that this major storm is making landfall in a minimally populated area. Look, we're talking about a hurricane that went from a Category 1 to a Category 4 in less than 24 hours. It downgraded to a Category 3, I'd say around 7 a.m. this morning, and is now pushing through the state of Florida. It's going to be in the state of Georgia by early this afternoon and starting to move up the eastern seaboard. Gail, that's it for now. I'll toss it back to you in New York.
All right. Thank you, David Begnaud. We're now going to go to Omar Villafranca. He is also in Crystal River. Omar, what can you tell us about what you're seeing at this moment?
Well, good morning, Gail. We're starting to see some of the water rise here in the Crystal River area. This canal here actually is supposed to be on the other side of the banks, but it is starting to spill over here, and this is what we expected. Some of the homes behind me, you see, a lot of these residents have evacuated. They listened to authorities, and they got out. They tied things up, and they left because this is what they're expecting, and they're expecting it to get worse. A lot of people were here because this is the time of year that in the summer, there's actually manatees who are regularly floating through here and alligators, so we're watching out for both. But the water is coming up. We're in between bands right now, but when a band does hit, you notice the wind and you notice the rain. It feels like you're in a water park. It's coming from all directions, and it's hard to see even just 10 feet in front of you. Right now, we're in between bands, and we're waiting to see how bad this is going to get. Gail?
All right, Omar, thank you very much. Chief Weathercaster Lonnie Quinn from CBS New York is with us. Lonnie, you told us in the last half hour that Idalia had actually made landfall. Now, when I'm watching a movie and it says made landfall, I expect to see wind, rain, lights, camera action. Then we go to that live shot.
You're right.
And it seems fairly calm.
Well, remember when you're seeing the spot where landfall is made, you're in the eye of the storm. And the eye of a storm, that's where you have a lot of sinking air. It just means it's calm. The eye of the storm, I've been inside a number of them. It's super peaceful. It's the eye wall that holds on to the tough weather. Let me show you what we are dealing with. Once again, here's our storm. We'll pull it up. We'll show you the big picture right here. There's your center circulation. So sure enough, it is onshore in the Big Bend. And as David Begnaud has been making very clear to a lot of folks, it's not heavily populated. Thank goodness for that. There's something I want to talk to you about, however, which, let me pull this up for you. Wouldn't you know, now it's not going to come up for me. I want to talk about when we believe we're going to be dealing with the worst of it in terms of storm surge, because this is interesting. Here's your storm, okay, counterclockwise circulation. You can take this storm. This is key to the equation. You can take that storm, you can put it on the Georgia line. It's probably a Cat 2, maybe a Cat 1. It's certainly going to be downgraded as it pushes over land, but it's that same circulation. So it's going to be continuing to push water onshore. This is what it's all about. It's all about the storm surge, all right? And here's the deal with Cedar Key. Right now, Cedar Key, all right, this red line shows you where we are, all right? This blue line shows you typical tides. What's key about all of this square, which is right now, everybody, dead low tide. This is the lowest that Mother Nature is going to provide. It's going to go up from there. And on top of it, you've got that super blue moon out there. So you get an astronomical high tide. That's another jolt that makes this rough. So we're currently running at around 8.5 feet of storm surge. Again, the projections, initially we thought maybe 10 to 12 feet. Then they bumped them up 12 to maybe 16 feet. I'm certainly hoping it's going to be on the low end of that. I can't guarantee that, but I'm hoping it stays on the low end. But right now, you are at 8.5 feet in Cedar Key. The maximum looks to be at around 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's where we think we'll see the worst of it. After that, things should start to taper down. You're also looking at the situation here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Again, they're at their low tide, and they're running a storm surge. Right now, you're at 7.21 feet. You should be at 1.5. So you're running around 6 feet of storm surge or so in that area. Again, a lot of numbers out there. Just know I think they're going to continue to go up at least somewhat. So, Tony, let's go over to you.
Yeah, and Lonnie, these pictures out of Crystal River, I mean, we don't really know what the impact is in Cedar Key because we don't have a camera shot up there. But, you know, that's a low-lying area. There's one bridge in, one bridge off. Beautiful, flat, classic Florida.
That's the thing here, Tony. The topography isn't helping. There is no elevation, right? It's Florida, flat as a pancake, right? To put it into context for you and I living here in the New York City area, do you remember with Sandy? When Superstorm Sandy came on shore, all right, it came on shore with the wind and the rain and everything, but then it left. And everybody thought, okay, this storm didn't do everything we thought it was going to do. It was later that you got the high tide. I remember my news director coming into our office and, this is a bust. Like, let's wait for high tide. And once you breach the battery, you have just flooded the whole city.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
That was the problem.
We're still in wait and see for sure.
Yeah.
Lonnie Quinn, Lonnie, thank you very much. Now that Idalia has made landfall, we believe we have some areas away from the coast starting to feel that impact as well. The storm is passing just east of this hour of the capital of Florida, that's Tallahassee. And we're going to go to Tallahassee Mayor John E. Daly. He's going to join us now. Mayor, good morning to you. Thank you very much for being here. For people who are not from Florida, I happen to be from South Florida. Could you give our viewers a sense of that Big Bend region? And also, one of the risk factors I'm thinking about when I see a storm of this size coming ashore is you got a lot of new residents to Florida who moved down there during the pandemic. And then you also have these like hardened old timers who've ridden out storms before and they think this one's just the same old thing. So paint a picture for us about the risks unique to this particular storm and this region of your state.
Well, the Big Bend region is a beautiful region in the state of Florida. Let me tell you, though, we are not a small community. The city of Tallahassee has a municipal population of 200,000. Add another 100,000 in the unincorporated with a student population of 70,000 with our university community. So obviously the protection of life in public safety is number one. I cannot stress enough the impact of this storm. This is going to be the largest storm in history, I do believe, to hit the Big Bend region, definitely to hit the city of Tallahassee. So we're taking it extremely seriously. I've talked to my colleagues, Heath Davis in particular down in Cedar Key, the mayor, and we're all checking on each other. But right now, everybody needs to stay inside. It just made landfall. We're feeling it here in Tallahassee, and it is going to impact us, and we're going to have damage.
Yeah. Are your deputies prepared for rescues in the next few hours, or is it a hunker down mode, as we've heard from people further south along the coast there? What are you advising residents? Are you able to get to people today, or is it a wait and see for you as well?
We'll be able to get to them today. That's a great question, but it all depends on wind speed. You know, we hit a certain wind speed and it's unsafe for the first responders and the utility crews to be out on the streets. And so right now, shelter in place. But please call in if you need help, and we will be able to get to you eventually. But right now, everybody just needs to stay in place.
Mr. Mayor, do you happen to know if people heeded the warning of evacuate?
Yeah, I do believe that many people, again, we're not a coastal community, so we don't have to worry so much about the surge, although we are concerned with area flooding. But I do know that in Tallahassee area, we are encouraging a voluntary evacuation. Again, we are a university community with 70,000 students. Many of the students were expecting to start school this week, and then classes were canceled. I think some of them went home as well. So we did have a lot of residents that did evacuate. But let me tell you, people in Tallahassee have been paying attention for the past week. We've really been preparing for this storm, both as an institution, but also as residents. And so they're taking heed, and those that did not leave, they're going to shelter in place.
All right, Mayor Daly there helping to coordinate the Florida response from Tallahassee. Mayor, thank you very much. Our coverage here at CBS will continue, coverage of Hurricane Idalia on our streaming network and also on your local news.
Many of you will now return to CBS Mornings. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Gail King with Tony DeCopel and Nate Burleson, CBS News here in New York.
Right, so we're going to continue our coverage here of Hurricane Idalia, which has made landfall in Florida as a Category 3 storm. The biggest concern right now, of course, continues to be storm surge. We're looking at the possibility of 16 feet of storm surge. Emergency personnel have been saying now for an hour or so, if you were in an area where they were asking you to leave and you have not left yet,